Sometimes the most terrifying truth is not waking up somewhere unfamiliar, but discovering that your own signature has already changed your life. Noah Bennett opened his eyes to the soft hum of powerful engines and the gentle vibration beneath his seat. For several long seconds he remained perfectly still, trying to understand why the ceiling above him looked nothing like his apartment, his university library, or anywhere he had visited before. Warm morning sunlight poured through large oval windows, illuminating an elegant private aircraft cabin furnished with polished walnut panels, cream leather seats, and a long conference table positioned only a few feet away. His heartbeat accelerated as he reached for his phone, only to discover there was no cellular signal. He checked again, refreshing the screen several times before realizing it was useless. Confusion slowly turned into concern. His backpack rested beside him exactly as he remembered, along with his sketchbook and architectural pencils, but everything else felt wrong. The last clear memory he could grasp was leaving the university after reviewing restoration plans for a historic courthouse. After that, there was nothing except an empty silence inside his mind where time itself seemed to have disappeared. "You are awake." The calm voice came from across the cabin. Noah looked up and found a man sitting opposite him, dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His sharp features remained composed, and his gray eyes reflected neither hostility nor impatience. Instead, they carried an unexpected sense of quiet responsibility. "Who are you?" Noah asked cautiously. "My name is Adrian Cole." Noah searched his memory for the name, but found only darkness. "Where am I?" "On my aircraft." "Why?" Adrian remained silent for a brief moment before answering. "Because it is the safest place for you right now." Noah immediately stood, only to feel slightly unsteady before steadying himself against the nearby seat. He looked toward the cabin door, then toward the windows stretching endlessly across bright clouds. "I want to leave." Adrian slowly nodded. "I understand. But we are flying at 39,000 feet. The moment we land, every decision will belong to you." Noah studied him carefully. Nothing about Adrian suggested panic or aggression. He simply sat there, allowing Noah the space to think for himself. That made the situation even more unsettling. "What happened to me?" Noah finally asked. Adrian opened a thin medical folder resting on the table. "You have been unconscious for several hours." Noah frowned. "Several hours cannot explain why I remember leaving campus yesterday." Adrian looked directly into his eyes before quietly correcting him. "It was not yesterday." Noah felt his stomach tighten. "Then when?" "6 weeks have passed." The words echoed inside the cabin like an impossible sentence. Noah instinctively laughed once, not because he believed it, but because his mind refused to accept it. "That is impossible." Adrian slowly slid a calendar across the table. Every date confirmed the same horrifying reality. 6 entire weeks had disappeared without leaving a single memory behind. Noah reached for his backpack, desperately searching for anything familiar. His student identification card was still there. His notebook remained untouched. His wallet contained the same cash he remembered carrying. Everything appeared ordinary except time itself. "There has to be some mistake," Noah whispered. Adrian gently closed the medical folder before speaking again. "I wish there were." Noah stared at him, searching for any sign of deception, but Adrian's expression never changed. Instead of pressuring him, he simply waited. Finally, Noah asked the question that had been growing heavier with every passing second. "What are you not telling me?" Adrian released a slow breath before answering with complete honesty. "There is one fact you deserve to hear from me before anyone else can use it against you." Noah felt every muscle in his body become tense. Adrian carefully placed the medical report on the table without forcing Noah to touch it. "Noah," he said quietly, "you are pregnant." Silence filled the cabin. Noah looked down at the report with trembling hands, convinced it had to belong to someone else. Yet every line displayed his full legal name, his date of birth, and identification number. Unable to believe what he was seeing, he turned to the final page. At the bottom, beneath the informed consent section, appeared a signature he recognized instantly. It was his own handwriting. Noah Bennett could not pull his eyes away from the signature at the bottom of the medical report. He traced each familiar stroke with trembling fingers, searching for even the smallest flaw that might prove it had been forged, yet every letter belonged unmistakably to his own handwriting. He slowly looked back at Adrian Cole. Someone copied my signature. Adrian did not argue. If that is what happened, then we will prove it with evidence. The calm response caught Noah off guard. He had expected resistance, excuses, or pressure, but Adrian simply accepted the possibility without hesitation. Noah quickly turned through every page inside the folder. Medical examinations, laboratory results, consent forms, appointment confirmations. Every document carried the same signature. Every date belonged to the missing 6 weeks. No, Noah whispered. This cannot be real. Adrian quietly slid another folder onto the polished table. There is something else you should see. Noah hesitated before opening it. Inside were copies of hospital admission records showing his photograph beside official identification. The timestamps covered several different appointments across nearly a month. Noah immediately shook his head. These photographs could have been manipulated. That is possible, Adrian answered. Which is why I requested independent verification before bringing you here. Noah looked up. Who verified them? Dr. Evelyn Carter. Before Noah could ask another question, a secure monitor built into the cabin wall illuminated. A woman in her early 40s wearing a white medical coat appeared on the screen. Her expression was calm and professional. Good morning, Noah, she said gently. I wish we were meeting under different circumstances. Noah stared at her. Have we met before? She nodded once. Several times during the past 6 weeks. Noah searched his memory and found nothing. Then tell me why I cannot remember you. Dr. Carter answered. Carefully. Because something happened after your final appointment, and we have not yet determined exactly what caused your memory loss. Noah folded his arms. Did you diagnose the pregnancy? Yes. Are you certain? I repeated every examination more than once because I understood how extraordinary the situation would appear. The results remained consistent. Noah looked away, struggling to process words that refused to fit inside his understanding of reality. Then explain why I cannot remember agreeing to any of this. Dr. Carter lowered her voice. That is the question all of us have been trying to answer. Noah noticed Adrian watching the conversation without interrupting. Not once had he attempted to influence the doctor's answers. Every response came directly from her. I want proof beyond paperwork, Noah finally said. Dr. Carter exchanged a brief glance with Adrian before speaking again. There is one recording. Noah immediately looked back at the screen. Show me. Adrian quietly nodded toward Marcus Hale, who had remained silent near the rear of the cabin throughout the conversation. Marcus activated another secure file. Static briefly crossed the display before security camera footage appeared. The recording showed the entrance to a private medical center. Noah felt his heart race as he watched a familiar figure step out of a taxi. It was him. He looked completely calm, carrying the same backpack resting beside him now. No one forced him forward. No one followed him. He adjusted the strap on his shoulder, looked around once, and voluntarily walked through the hospital entrance before disappearing from view. The video ended. Noah remained frozen. That is impossible, he whispered. I do not remember any of it. Marcus quietly enlarged the timestamp. Confirming the date fell squarely within the missing 6 weeks. Noah reached for his backpack, desperate to find something that connected him to the person on the screen. As he searched through the main compartment, his fingers touched a folded piece of paper hidden beneath the sketchbook. He slowly unfolded it. The handwriting was his own. Across the center of the page, written in large, careful letters, was a single warning that instantly sent a chill through him. If I forget everything, never let Victor find me. Noah stared at the handwritten note for what felt like an eternity, reading the same sentence again and again until the words no longer looked real. The letters were unmistakably his own, every curve and every line matching the pages inside his sketchbook. He slowly raised his eyes toward Adrian. Who is Victor? Adrian answered without hesitation. That is exactly what we have been trying to discover from your investigation. Noah frowned. My investigation? Adrian nodded. 6 weeks ago, you contacted me because you believed someone inside Northstar Biomedical Research Center was hiding information that could place innocent people in danger. You said you could not trust local authorities until you had proof. Noah searched the empty space where those memories should have been, but nothing appeared except a dull ache behind his eyes. I have never even heard of Northstar. Adrian calmly opened another secure file on the table. Inside were scanned copies of emails exchanged between Noah and an anonymous source using encrypted addresses. Noah recognized his university email account immediately. The messages discussed architectural maintenance plans, but hidden within the technical language were references to laboratory wings, restricted storage areas, and employee access schedules. Adrian pointed to one highlighted sentence. This was your idea. You disguised research notes inside building restoration reports because you believed no one would pay attention to architectural documents. Noah leaned closer, surprised by the cleverness of the method even though he could not remember creating it. If I really wrote these, then I must have known what I was looking for. Adrian quietly agreed. You believe North Star was conducting unauthorized medical research while disguising it as routine clinical studies. Before Noah could ask another question, the cabin monitor illuminated once more. Dr. Evelyn Carter appeared again, this time sitting inside what looked like a secure conference room. Noah, she said, there is something important that only I can confirm. Noah looked directly at her. Tell me the truth. Was I forced into any medical procedure? Dr. Carter answered firmly. No, he remained silent. She continued, choosing every word with care. You arrived at our facility voluntarily. You completed every consultation. You asked more questions than almost anyone I have ever treated. You refused to move forward until every document had been explained in detail. Your decisions were thoughtful and informed. Noah struggled to reconcile her description with the emptiness inside his own mind. Then why would I remember none of it? Dr. Carter sighed softly. Because the memory loss itself was never part of the original plan. The statement immediately captured everyone's attention. Even Marcus looked toward the monitor. Original plan? Noah asked. Dr. Carter nodded. Your intention was to protect sensitive evidence while remaining under medical observation for your own safety. Losing 6 weeks of memory was never expected. Adrian slowly folded his hands together, which means someone interfered after Noah completed the process. Dr. Carter agreed. That is our current conclusion. Noah looked down at the warning note still resting in his hand. Suddenly, it no longer felt like a random message. It felt like instructions left behind by a version of himself who had anticipated something going terribly wrong. His thoughts raced as dozens of questions collided at once. Why had he trusted Adrian? Why had he hidden evidence inside architectural reports? Why was someone named Victor searching for him? Before anyone could speak again, Marcus received a notification on his secure tablet. His expression changed immediately. Sir, he said quietly to Adrian, we found another encrypted backup linked to Noah's university account. Adrian looked toward him. Can you open it? Marcus shook his head once. Not remotely. It requires a physical storage device. Noah instinctively searched through his backpack again, moving aside notebooks, pencils, measuring tools, and folded design sketches. His fingers suddenly touched a small object hidden inside the lining beneath a loose seam. Carefully pulling it free, he discovered a tiny black memory card wrapped in transparent tape. Attached to it was another handwritten label in his own unmistakable handwriting containing only 6 chilling words. Do not trust your first memory. Noah turned the tiny memory card over in his fingers as though it might disappear if he blinked. The transparent tape holding the handwritten label had begun to peel at the edges, suggesting it had been hidden in his backpack for weeks. He looked toward Adrian, who made no attempt to take it from him. This belongs to you, Adrian said quietly. You should decide what happens next. Noah appreciated the answer more than he expected. Ever since waking aboard the aircraft, Adrian had consistently allowed him to make every important decision for himself. After a long breath, Noah handed the memory card to Marcus. Open it. Marcus inserted the card into a secure reader connected to the cabin monitor. Several encrypted folders immediately appeared on the screen. One folder opened without requiring a password. Inside were dozens of architectural blueprints marked with handwritten notes. At first glance, they appeared to be ordinary building renovation plans, but Noah quickly noticed colored circles highlighting restricted laboratory areas, hidden utility corridors, and emergency exits. These are North Star facilities, Adrian explained. You mapped every section that could contain evidence. Marcus opened another file labeled Internal Review. A formal complaint appeared on the screen describing irregular documentation, conflicting research logs, and missing approval records. The report avoided dramatic language and relied entirely on dates, signatures, and documented inconsistencies. Noah silently read each page. Whoever had written it had been methodical, patient, and determined to build a case using facts instead of accusations. His eyes stopped at the author line. It displayed only one name: Noah Bennett. He slowly leaned back in disbelief. I really did all this. Adrian nodded once. You spent months collecting information before you contacted me. Noah looked toward him. Why you? Adrian remained thoughtful before answering. Because you believed I had resources that could protect witnesses without alerting the people you suspected. Noah frowned. You expected me to trust a stranger? Adrian almost smiled. Apparently, I was not a stranger. Before Noah could ask what that meant, another document opened automatically. It contained a timeline of meetings between Noah, Dr. Carter, and several unnamed legal advisors. Every entry ended with the same handwritten reminder. Preserve evidence. Protect identities. Wait until everything is verified. Noah felt an unexpected sense of familiarity as he read those words, as though they reflected habits he had always valued. Facts before conclusions. Evidence before accusations. Suddenly, another file appeared. It contained only a short audio transcript because the original recording had been damaged. The visible lines were brief but unmistakable. If my memory becomes unreliable, trust documented evidence before personal recollection. Memory can be altered. Records cannot be easily rewritten. Noah stared at the sentence in silence. It sounded exactly like something an architecture student trained to rely on measurements and documentation would say. Marcus continued exploring the remaining folders until he reached a file simply labeled personal. Unlike the others, it required a password. Noah tried several combinations without success. Then he entered the date of his university graduation. The file unlocked instantly. Instead of documents, a single text message appeared across the screen. It contained only one sentence. Do not trust what you remember first. Trust the person who waited. Noah slowly looked across the cabin toward Adrian. The Alpha had remained exactly where he was since Noah regained consciousness, never demanding belief, never asking for gratitude, and never attempting to fill the empty spaces inside Noah's mind with convenient answers. Before Noah could speak, another encrypted folder unlocked automatically, as though triggered by the first password. A personnel authorization form filled the monitor. Near the bottom appeared the name of someone Noah recognized immediately from childhood, someone he had always believed would never be connected to any of this. Richard Bennett. Noah could not stop staring at the name on the authorization form. Richard Bennett. The man who had raised him after the loss of his parents had always lived a quiet life, avoiding attention and encouraging Noah to focus on school, honesty, and helping others through his work. Nothing about Richard had ever suggested a connection to secret investigations or protected research facilities. There has to be another Richard Bennett, Noah said, almost hoping someone would agree. Dr. Evelyn Carter appeared once again on the cabin monitor and gently shook her head. There is only one person with that name connected to your case. Noah felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. Then he lied to me. Adrian answered carefully. Or he protected information until the right moment. Noah looked toward him with frustration. You keep asking me to consider possibilities instead of giving me answers. Adrian accepted the criticism without argument. Because every time someone filled in missing pieces before you could verify them yourself, it made your investigation weaker. You insisted that assumptions were the fastest way to destroy the truth. Those words settled heavily in Noah's mind. They sounded familiar, almost like advice he had repeated many times before losing his memories. Marcus continued examining the files stored on the memory card until he discovered a folder containing photographs rather than documents. The first few images showed ordinary locations around the city, university buildings, coffee shops, and public libraries. Then another photograph appeared on the screen. Noah immediately recognized himself standing beside Adrian near the edge of a quiet lake at sunset. Neither of them appeared frightened or uncomfortable. They were smiling naturally while holding paper coffee cups, as though sharing an ordinary conversation between friends. Noah leaned closer. When was this taken? Marcus checked the file information. 3 weeks before your missing memories began. More photographs followed. Noah and Adrian reviewing blueprints inside a conference room. Noah pointing toward architectural drawings. Spread across a table while Adrian listened carefully. Another picture showed Richard Bennett sitting with both of them inside a small lakeside cabin, smiling as if the three men had known one another for years. Noah slowly lowered his eyes. I do not remember any of this. Adrian quietly answered. Neither did I expect you to. Marcus opened one final folder labeled Video Archive. Unlike the damaged recording from earlier, this file remained completely intact. A timestamp confirmed it had been recorded less than 24 hours before Noah disappeared from public view. The video paused automatically on its opening frame. Noah saw himself sitting alone inside the same lakeside cabin shown in the photographs. Behind him hung architectural sketches pinned neatly across a wooden wall. He looked tired but calm, as though he had spent hours preparing exactly what he intended to say. Noah hesitated before pressing play. The screen remained frozen for several seconds as the secure system verified the recording. Every person aboard the aircraft waited in complete silence. Noah realized his hands were trembling again, not from fear alone, but from the strange certainty that the man inside the video understood everything that his present self had forgotten. The loading symbol finally disappeared. The image sharpened into perfect clarity. Before the recording even began to play, the first frame revealed a handwritten note resting on the table beside the camera. In bold letters written by Noah himself, it read, "If I forget Adrian, let me choose him again after I know the truth." The video began with Noah adjusting the camera before sitting down across from it. He looked exactly as he did now, wearing the same thoughtful expression he often had while concentrating on architectural drawings, yet there was something different in his eyes. They were steady, confident, and completely certain of the decision he had made. He looked directly into the lens before speaking. If you are watching this, then something happened that neither Dr. Carter nor I expected. That means you probably do not remember why you trusted anyone sitting beside you today. Noah, aboard the aircraft, held his breath as his recorded self continued. First, do not panic. You spent months verifying every document before making any important decision. If your memories are missing, rely on evidence instead of fear. Evidence has always been stronger than assumptions. The recording paused briefly while the younger Noah reached for a folder resting beside him. Second, if Adrian Cole is still with you, listen carefully. I am saying this because I know exactly how suspicious I can be. Adrian never forced me to make a single choice. Every meeting, every medical consultation, and every document happened because I requested them. If I wake up without remembering him, do not allow guilt or pressure to replace proof. Let me discover the truth at my own pace. Noah slowly turned toward Adrian, who remained silent. The alpha did not react with satisfaction or relief. He simply lowered his eyes, as though he had already watched this recording many times and still found it difficult. The video continued. Third, the pregnancy was confirmed only after multiple independent examinations. I asked Dr. Evelyn Carter to repeat every test because I wanted certainty before accepting anything that could change my future. If you no longer remember that process, trust her professionalism before trusting your fear. Dr. Carter quietly looked away from the monitor, allowing Noah to absorb every word without interruption. The recording moved to its final section. Noah on the screen leaned closer to the camera, his voice softer but no less determined. There is one thing I could never predict. If someone succeeds in separating me from my memories, then they might also try to separate me from the people protecting the evidence. That is why everything important has been divided into separate pieces. He held up a folded sheet of paper. The memory card contains only enough information to guide you. The remaining documents are somewhere even safer. Noah aboard the aircraft felt his pulse quicken. Where? He whispered instinctively, even though the recording could not hear him. His recorded self answered moments later. Richard Bennett knows the final location, but only because I asked him to keep it until I could verify every fact myself. If you are watching this before meeting him, do not judge him too quickly. He accepted a burden that I placed on his shoulders. The video neared its conclusion. One final instruction. Do not search for Victor. If Victor begins searching for you, then Adrian already knows where to take you. Safe House 7 was prepared for exactly that possibility. Everything else you need is inside the final sealed document. The recording faded to black before a single line of white text appeared across the screen. It was clearly typed after the video had been completed. Final surviving document secured. Release authorization pending direct meeting with Richard Bennett only. The cabin remained completely silent. Noah slowly closed his eyes, Realizing that every answer he uncovered only revealed another carefully protected secret waiting beyond the next step of a plan he no longer remembered creating. Noah remained seated long after the screen faded to black, unable to separate the stranger in the recording from the person he believed himself to be. Every sentence spoken by his former self had been logical, careful, and impossible to dismiss. He had not sounded frightened. He had sounded prepared. That realization changed something inside him. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, he began to understand that he had willingly stepped into a complicated plan for reasons that still remained hidden. Adrian quietly broke the silence. "We are less than 2 hours from landing." Noah nodded absent-mindedly. "At the lake?" Adrian answered, "Yes." Richard insisted that the final documents should only be opened there. Marcus continued reviewing the remaining files recovered from the memory card, and suddenly noticed a folder that had not appeared before. "Another file just decrypted," he announced. "It looks like it was programmed to unlock only after the video finished." Noah immediately walked over. The folder contained scanned pages from a handwritten journal. Every page belonged to Noah. The entries described weeks of careful observations, documenting unusual construction requests inside North Star Biomedical Research Center, unexplained budget transfers, and inconsistencies between architectural blueprints and the laboratories actually being built. One entry caught Noah's attention more than the others. "Victor is not the mastermind. He is trying to recover something before federal investigators discover it. If he reaches the evidence first, every honest employee inside North Star could be blamed." Noah slowly lowered the page. "So Victor was chasing evidence, not me." Adrian gently corrected him. "You became part of the evidence because you knew where it was hidden." Marcus opened another journal page. This one was dated only 3 days before Noah's memories disappeared. "I finally convinced Richard to protect the last package. He wanted me to walk away from everything, but once he saw the documents himself, he agreed the truth mattered more than comfort. If anything happens to me, he must never open the envelope unless I am present." Noah smiled faintly despite everything. That sounded exactly like Richard. Careful, patient, unwilling to interfere unless absolutely necessary. "He never betrayed me," Noah whispered. Adrian shook his head. "No, he honored the promise you asked him to keep." Dr. Evelyn Carter appeared on the monitor once again after receiving an updated report from Marcus. "There is one more detail you should know before landing," she said. "The authorization for your medical care required 2 independent witnesses. One was Richard Bennett." Noah looked up. Who was the second? Dr. Carter opened the final page of the authorization record. A familiar name appeared beneath Richard's signature. "Victor Kane." Noah stared at the screen in complete disbelief. "That cannot be right." Dr. Carter nodded slowly. "At the time, Victor presented himself as a legal compliance officer cooperating with your investigation. None of us knew he was secretly attempting to locate the evidence you had already hidden." Adrian folded the document closed. "The moment Victor realized he had been misled, your memories were already gone and Richard had disappeared with the final sealed package." Noah looked out through the aircraft window as endless clouds stretched toward the horizon. For the first time since awakening, he understood that every answer had been earned through evidence rather than assumptions, exactly as his former self had intended. Just then the captain's voice came through the cabin speakers. "We have begun our descent. Estimated arrival in 25 minutes. Marcus glanced toward the navigation display before quietly adding one final update. "Ground security has confirmed that Richard Bennett is already waiting at the private airfield, and he is carrying a sealed envelope addressed only to Noah Bennett." The aircraft touched down with barely a sound, rolling smoothly along the quiet private runway before coming to a gentle stop beside a small terminal overlooking the lake. Noah remained seated for a moment, watching the calm water shimmer beneath the afternoon sun. Everything outside looked peaceful, almost ordinary, making it difficult to believe that the missing 6 weeks of his life had led him here. Adrian stood, but made no move toward the exit until Noah nodded that he was ready. Together they stepped onto the staircase, where a cool breeze carried the scent of pine trees across the airfield. Waiting beside a dark sedan stood Richard Bennett, his silver hair moving slightly in the wind as he held a sealed manila envelope against his chest. The moment Noah saw him, countless childhood memories remained absent, Yet the familiar warmth of Richard's gentle smile still felt unmistakably real. Richard did not rush forward. Instead, he waited patiently until Noah closed the distance between them. "I am glad you made it," Richard said softly. Noah searched the older man's face. "Why did you never tell me any of this?" Richard answered with visible emotion. "Because you asked me not to. You made me promise that I would protect the final evidence until you could verify every earlier step yourself. You said that if someone ever filled in the missing pieces too quickly, you would never know which memories belonged to you and which belonged to someone else's story." Noah lowered his eyes before accepting the envelope. His own handwriting covered the front in neat block letters. "Open only after meeting. Richard." He carefully broke the seal. Inside rested a handwritten letter, several legal documents, and a flash drive marked Final Archive. Before Noah could examine the contents, Marcus received another secure notification. "Federal investigators have officially entered North Star Biomedical Research Center," he reported. "Search warrants have been executed using the documentation recovered from your encrypted files. Multiple departments are cooperating." Noah looked toward Adrian in surprise. "They acted this quickly?" Adrian nodded. "Your evidence had already been reviewed by independent legal teams before you lost your memories. They were simply waiting for the final authorization package that Richard protected." Noah unfolded the handwritten letter first. Every line carried the same calm, precise handwriting he had already seen throughout the investigation. The letter explained that every document had been verified by multiple independent professionals before being submitted, ensuring that no accusation relied upon assumptions or incomplete information. It also confirmed that Richard had never participated in the investigation itself. His only responsibility had been safeguarding the final authorization package until Noah personally reclaimed it. Relief slowly replaced months of invisible suspicion that Noah had carried without even realizing it. Richard had not deceived him. He had honored the promise exactly as requested. Noah then connected the flash drive to Marcus's secure computer. A final folder appeared containing financial records, architectural revisions, inspection reports, and correspondence proving that unauthorized modifications inside North Star had been concealed through falsified maintenance documentation. The evidence formed a complete timeline stretching back several years. Dr. Evelyn Carter appeared briefly on the secure monitor one last time. "Everything has now been transferred through the proper legal channels," she said. "Your investigation is complete." Noah quietly looked toward the lake beyond the terminal windows. As sunlight reflected across the water, a single memory surfaced without warning. He remembered standing beside Adrian at this very shoreline weeks earlier, laughing over paper coffee cups while discussing whether truth required courage or patience. He still could not remember the conversation itself, but for the first time since awakening aboard the aircraft, he remembered how completely safe he had felt standing beside him. Noah stood quietly at the edge of the lake as the afternoon light reflected across the calm water, holding the final handwritten letter in both hands. Every page he had recovered throughout the day had answered one mystery, while revealing something deeper about the person he had been before losing 6 weeks of memory. Yet this final letter felt different. It was not evidence prepared for investigators or instructions left behind for an emergency. It was simply a message from one version of himself to another. He unfolded the last page and began reading. "If you have reached this point, then you already know that the truth survived. That means the plan worked, even if it cost us memories. Do not waste time mourning what you cannot immediately remember. Memory is valuable, but character is revealed by the choices we make today, not only by the experiences we remember yesterday." Noah paused, taking a slow breath before continuing. "If Adrian is still standing beside you, then he kept every promise I asked him to make. I never wanted anyone to pressure me into trusting him again if my memories disappeared. I wanted the present version of myself to observe him with fresh eyes and decide freely. If you choose to trust him now, that decision belongs entirely to you." Noah lowered the letter and looked toward Adrian. Throughout the journey, Adrian had never demanded belief, never defended himself with emotion instead of facts, and never once tried to replace missing memories with convenient stories. He had simply waited, exactly as the note inside the encrypted file had instructed. Noah smiled gently before folding the letter closed. "I still do not remember everything," he admitted. Adrian nodded. "You do not have to. But I remember enough to know that the man who lost those memories believed you deserved another chance, even if I forgot why. Adrian's expression softened, but he remained silent, allowing Noah to finish speaking without interruption. So I am making my own choice, Noah continued. Not because of old photographs, recorded messages, or missing weeks. I am choosing based on everything I have seen since waking up. Richard quietly smiled, recognizing that the decision belonged to Noah alone. Over the following months, independent investigators completed their review of North Star Biomedical Research Center using the carefully documented evidence Noah had assembled before his memory loss. The findings confirmed years of irregular records and unauthorized facility modifications, leading to permanent oversight changes and the closure of the concealed project that had inspired Noah's investigation. Dr. Evelyn Carter continued supervising Noah's medical care while reassuring him that recovering every missing memory was never the only path toward healing. Some moments slowly returned on their own, while others remained beyond reach, and Noah eventually accepted that both outcomes could exist without defining his future. He resumed sketching buildings, returned to architectural research, and found unexpected peace in creating new memories instead of chasing every forgotten one. One crisp autumn morning, several months after everything had finally settled, Noah stood once again beside Adrian's private aircraft. The engines waited quietly, just as they had on the day his impossible journey began. This time there was no confusion, no fear, and no missing time. Adrian looked toward him without speaking. Noah smiled, adjusted the strap of his backpack, and stepped forward of his own free will. As the aircraft door closed behind them and the runway stretched into the distance, Noah realized that the greatest truth he had uncovered was never hidden inside encrypted files or forgotten weeks. It was the simple freedom to choose trust with open eyes, and that was one memory he knew he would never lose again.